Hi everybody, welcome to the show. I've been joined by George Rodger, the former UK National Champion, the UK National Champion of 2022. And you've got this amazing Maxx Nitro deck tech to show us. So just tell us a little bit about it before we crack on and unveil it.
Yeah, so I was like really excited about the new set coming out. I thought the Archetype promo for Teklo-Vossen was going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
And then started testing all the heroes, and Max has sort of come out as the strongest that I've noticed so far. Now, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, it's been really, really good.
Yeah, she put some good results in on the pre-release. You played it at pre-release.
I did, yeah, in the sealed. So yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I played Teklo-Vossen and we had a flipping humdinger of a game.
That was really one card left in the deck difference. That was that was quite a game.
Yeah, but it showed because you knew what you were doing with Max, and basically you've put the time in basically developing this deck prior to the pre-release season, haven't you?
Yeah, I have quite a good understanding of how Max works now, and I was excited to show it.
Yeah, cool. So somebody helped you design this, didn't they? So let's give them a shout out before we crack on.
Yes, so Kramer is a guy that I test with a bit. He's currently a national champion, so he's the Croatian national champion.
Nice.
so there's some good players we've been doing this with, and I test with obviously a lot of good players. So yeah, it's been through the works, I'd say, this deck, and it's performing very well in testing.
Yeah, nice. And there's 3 battle hardens this weekend. Maybe someone's thinking about taking Max or seeing what they crack open on the release weekend.
This is definitely a good starting point if you want to, get your teeth into Max, I'd say.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, right. So let's get on with it. Let's do that. And so this is the deck. We've called it Get in the Mech. So that should be a little bit of a giveaway on what we're doing as well with the JPEG, or the thumbnail, we should say. So let's start with Max himself. So go on.
So Max is built really basic term where you make a hyperdriver and then you can crank it, which gives you an action point, but you lose a steam counter on it.
Mm-hmm.
This is really core to how the deck functions, because the goal is going to be you get 2 of the hyperdrivers by default through Max, and then you need some way in the deck to get the 3rd hyperdriver to enable the mech to be online.
Yeah.
And it's just a streamlined deck to quickly get that 3rd hyperdriver through one of quite a few of methods in the deck, and then get in the mech, and go your opponent. And then there's 2 ways to get your opponent, depending on their matchup. If they're playing a fatigue deck, you're going to play a high octane and then hit them loads of times in one turn with a mech.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in an aggro mirror, you're going to start blocking out with your hand and then just swinging for 6. Because the maths on that is ridiculous.
Thing is, Dash tried to do it in previous to Bright Lights and didn't quite get it. But Max seems to have the keys to the engine. So
he gets 2 of the hyperdrivers for free, and that really helps.
Righty, so Banksy. Oh god, this was a good way to keep your hyperdrives around, especially when it hits.
So it's a 1 for free weapon, which is obviously already great. And you do have to crank to enable it, which you do have to do your hyperdriver with on a Max.
Yeah.
This is not used in every matchup, and it's the one thing that I'm not completely sold on which matchups you should be running it.
Okay.
The reason being that you don't want to be cranking too much unless you're setting up your 3rd hyperdriver, because you need to have a hyperdriver on 2 at all times to enable you to be able to set a 3rd one like really quickly.
Yep.
But when you are racing, so against quicker matchups like Phi, Banksy being a must block, or you get to have really high value, it is really enticing, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
making people block your weapon is great.
Yeah, indeed. I quickly learned that when at the pre-release. I was like, oh bugger. Okay, right. Okay, next one, Cogworks base legs. So this is your only base equipment.
Yeah. So the reason we run this is because the alternative was the old arcane barrier legs.
Yep.
Which you had to destroy to gain an action point.
Yeah, Achilles accelerator.
Yeah, but with these, you just pay a resource and they stay around, and you still get the effect of an extra action point. So it's very similar, but rather than it being free and you lose your boots, you just pay 1, which is amazing because now you have a way to use your boots and still have 4 pieces of equipment to get into Construct a Nitro mechanoid.
Yeah, nice.
So brilliant.
Yeah, the Cookworks ones were really good. Really good.
There's a little trick you can do with it. So if you have two hyperdrivers out, and then you're going to be putting the third one into play, you can do the boost, gain the resources from the 2 existing hyperdrivers, put the third one into play, and then use the resource on this to gain an extra action point. Then when you turn into the mech, you can swing twice with the mech on that turn. Very good. Very good.
I hope everybody wrote that one down. Right, okay. Note that you cannot go to your notes during the game, though. Right, okay. So, Galvanic Bender. A nice armour piece. People were using this over Goliath Gauntlet before. Why
blocks 1, and you get so much value over the extra +1 over the game because your game plan is primarily going to be Construct Nitro mechanoid. So, you swing with Nitro mechanoid 4 times, that's done 4 damage, and it blocked for 1 as well. It's amazing for gloves. Really, really high value.
Yeah, nice. You always put it as the top equipment, don't you? So it lasts longer.
Yeah, it's the last one you take off.
Yeah, nice. Hyper X3, the legendary from Bright Lights. When I saw this, I was like, oh my god, that seems so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the effect, I think you can definitely build a deck which can take full advantage of the effect. But all we care about really is that it's a mech-knowledge equivalent of Battle 1-1.
Okay.
Sometimes the extra text has relevance. So if you boost a hyperdriver away and you put it under it, that's an extra attack you can use with your mech when you transform.
Nice.
So that is a use if you're playing fatigue, because you don't normally get to your last swing when you're playing against aggro. But against fatigue, you could definitely do that extra swing with your mech. So yeah, it's just solid. There's no real downside. It's just better than any other options.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just like in the fatigue match, are you actually drawing more with this card than you would with Mask of Momentum for Ninja? Because it's just like once it's active.
We only run 3 red hyperdrivers, so the only way you can get it online is banish all your hyperdrivers. So, I mean,
maybe not.
Technically it could work, but it's probably not.
It's a fatigue game. It might go on a bit, so you might get it.
Yeah, maybe.
Once. Okay. Teklo Foundry Heart. Oh, man. The best chess piece, or there was the best chess piece.
It must be one of the best chess pieces in the game, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Pay a resource and you get 2 resources. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's a tunic every turn.
Yeah, there is an Evo that allows you. It's like a pseudo heart, isn't it? It's just like, okay, I get a couple of resources off it.
The heart cross strap one, the instant one, that's really good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just phenomenal. Blocks for free, and it's like effectively a tunic.
Yeah.
It lets you do some really disgusting things. You have to be careful how much you use it, because you need to evaluate, based on your card drawn and what's in your deck, the odds of you drawing a Nitro mechanoid is really important. And when you start getting to the point where you can't really risk banishing it, then you need to stop doing it, and you just change your lines based on not using your Teklo Foundry Heart.
Yeah.
At the start of the game, use it as much as you want, but towards the middle, you need to maybe slow down.
Yeah, but there has been a few games that we've seen that you can only play the Teklo Foundry Heart if you've boosted. If you haven't boosted, you cannot play it. So be very careful. Boost. Yeah, be careful, people. Right, okay. So that's the basic equipment. Okay, so let's get to the basic guts of the deck. So this is the 45 cards that you are going to take pretty much every game. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think in every matchup I'm running these.
Right. Nice. Red Expedite.
So, I am a Phi player at heart, and Phi loves head jabs. And conveniently, Axe also loves head jabs. So we've gone for the best head jabs available. And this is one of them. Because it might let you put a hyperdriver in, and it might scare your opponent into blocking it. Usually doesn't, but it definitely can have an effect. So it's just great.
Thing is, like with mech, there's not many on hits, so prior to Bright Lights, people were just like, okay, there's nothing really I've got to fear. It's just pure damage. But now it's kind of like, have you or haven't you got something? Especially if you're coming in, like you say, head jab, you're going to be coming in with this first.
Yeah, it's like your first head jab, and are you going to block it or not?
Yeah, yeah.
It's good.
Nice. High Octane. So one of the key cards for this deck. So whenever you boost a card, gain 1 action point. This is what's going to turn on your mechanoid once you've finally transformed into it.
Yeah, so it is core, but it's not needed in every matchup. So in a matchup where you need to swing lots of times in one go, like Dromai would be an example, Icelander, Bravo, these sort of decks, you do need to sort of overload your opponent with so much damage on one turn they can't possibly block it. That's when High Octane really shines.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why I'm not completely sold on Banksy all the time, because High Octane with the pistol is obviously also fantastic. It gets really high value. And I can't utilize it currently in all the matchups, so that might change. That's definitely not a solid lock-in, but it's still just a great card to use because it draws you a card, it cycles you, gets you closer towards your mech.
Yeah.
You know, activates with your mech with a pistol also works. It's just an overall really good card. There's no reason not to run it. Blocks for free as well for some reason.
Yeah, but you don't really want to be blocking with High Octane. It's like a card comes out, you're like, no, I'll just cycle that back in. I'll wait till I'm set up. Pulse Wave Harpoon. So came out in Dynasty.
It's better than a generic head jab. So once we go through, you'll see we've got all the good head jabs, and then you need to go for the next best cards. And Pulse Wave Harpoon is really strong because it can completely take your opponent's turn away. You know, if they only have 1 blue in hand and you've played this and you just go, well, I'll take your blue, and then their turn's awful, the value on it can just be astronomical. Just a really, really good card.
So it's especially when you've got an opponent who basically doesn't want to block, and then right at the end you pop this in and go, right, now let me see what you were planning. And like you said,
take it away from them.
That's right.
Give them good.
Give him a little wink and a smile. Cheers, fella. Thank you. T-Bones, blues and reds. So
there's yellows in the sideboard, so it's all 9. It's just a really good head jab. Must take their equipment. Sometimes that can be blade break equipment, which they don't want to block with, like a Mask Momentum. So by forcing their equipment away, you're making their life more difficult. Or taking away some of their key game plans.
Can be a little bit difficult to set up, but chucking 1 in, people are not too fussed. Normally they've got a 0 block, they just go, have that again. It's when you can line these one
up.
At
the same turn, it gets really good.
Yeah. There'll be some debate whether or not you want all 9. Yellows are not predominantly played.
9 is currently used because you do really like 0 costs in Max to enable the huge High Octane turn, and also Lexi is still unfortunately in the meta, so that horrendous deck is still lurking about. And if you can take her New Horizon away, she's a lot less scary.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Nice. Right, okay, Throttle. A nice popper for Dromai.
Pops for Dromai. It's a 2 for 6 with Go again. What more could you ask for?
it's good. It's been a main card since Arc, and it's still there.
Yeah, it's just really. You'll notice I run all of the generic Arc cards just because they all deal 1 more point of damage than all the other alternatives. They're just really good.
Yeah. Throttle is an awesome card. Okay, so probably onto one of the best boost cards that mechanologists now have. This enables so many lines. George, do you want to take us through?
I wasn't sold on it when I first saw it. I went, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess that's a couple of uses. And then the more you play it, the more you realize how many uses it has. Like Pulse Wave Harpoon, now it's really easy to take their entire hand and choose whatever you want.
Yeah.
Maximum Velocity is a lot easier to activate. High Octane triggers twice, so you get 2 action points from it. There's just so many things that you can benefit from boosting twice that you may not have realized. You don't have to boost twice. You can boost once if you need it once as well. It's just really flexible, and you're only sacrificing a point of damage for potentially, absolutely changing the whole game plan you have. Another one is, I think we talked about it before this. We started talking, but Meganatic Shockwave. You were surprised I'm running that.
Yeah.
This card really enables Meganatic Shockwave by being 2 of the boosts alone as well. So it's just a lot of cards just really, really get a little bit of a juice up because of Twin Drive. Just a really good card.
The thing is, to get Magnetic and this, I mean, that costs you 4. So it's a good job that
Good job you have hyperdrivers,
indeed,
right?
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hyperdrivers and a Techno Foundry hut. Turns out you could have one blue and pitch for 5. Great.
Just go steal their equipment early game. You're laughing. Right, 0 to 60, mainstay in most mechanologist decks. It's a mainstay here. All 9. Let's look at the reds. So the red one is so nice.
Best head jab in the game.
0 for 4. Let's keep going fast. Let's not go 0 to 50. Let's hit the max. Let's go 60.
This card is just. There's a reason they didn't print any more of this power. It's because it blocks for 3 and it swings for 4 and it costs 0 with go again. These should not be allowed on a card. These stats.
But it's still costing you a card to boost. It's not
completely
free.
But that only matters, right? If you're about to run out of cards, and you never hit that situation in Max. You never run out of cards.
Okay,
So right. Great.
So 0 to 60s. Okay, so the last lot of the of the 45 zipper hits. Let's look at the red. I like these as well. 1 for 5s. I do like a zipper hit. So
and again, just above rate damage that they shouldn't exist, but they do. So you get to do very illegal things by just hitting for more damage than you should be allowed to hit for. Yeah. I like doing that.
Okay, so the big robot itself, Construct Nitro Mechanoid. Indeed.
Without this card, that doesn't really work.
Yeah. So let's run through what it does. It transform target mechanologist head, chest, arms, legs, weapon, and 3 hyperdrives you control into Nitro Mechanoid. If you don't, negate this. This is why you haven't got any blade break equipment. You need all your equipment there to do it. You need your weapon to do it as well. And as it says, 3 hyperdrivers. If you haven't got any of this stuff, you cannot construct this. So if you're going against people that are destroying armor quickly, you better change your game plan because she ain't never getting this.
Yeah, so... But you are definitely subjectable to like Tommel tie. I'd say it's the big common one that people get scared of. But they have 1 Tommel tie, and you got 3 of these, so you should draw it first.
Let's see. We're going to see how good Tom is versus Max.
Yeah. Well, it's just all a crazy card, right? Like with the gloves, it swings for 6, and you have at least 8 swings with it. You have more than 8 swings if you start banishing hyperdrives underneath your helmet. Has overpower, which means they can never really block it out completely. They're always taking a little bit of chip damage. And, let's say they block it for 3 every time you swing it, and you're swinging it 8 times. They're taking 23 damage from those 8 swings alone, which means the rest of your deck only needs to deal 17 damage. That's not a difficult task, really.
We're getting to Kano numbers. It's just okay. I haven't got to chip much off of you, and then I'm coming at you. This is a Nitro Mechanoid. Make sure that you put the Galvanic Bender as the last card that you will banish. Otherwise, you'll go down to 5 power instead of 6. Don't make that little boo boo.
Yeah, you lose a lot of damage.
Yeah.
This card should be really hard to get out because of 3 hyperdrives, but because of Max, it's not. It's you can get it on turn 2 quite consistently. Like the hard part of constructing Nitro Mechanoid is just drawing construct Mechanoid. The rest of the plan sort of just works itself out by just playing a normal mechanologist game plan. You'll end up with 3 hyperdrivers, and then you can just play this as soon as you draw it. It's fantastic. So strong.
Nice. Okay, so let's go into the sideboard sideboard. So these cards will kind of like come in depending on your matchup. We've just shown you the core 45. Okay.
There was a couple more blues, which are quite important.
Okay. So, oops. Big Bertha, sorry.
The next 2 sets of blues are the exact same card, but one's a 2 for 3, and the other's a 3 for 4. The part you care about is banishing it. Yeah. So it's a blue that if you banish it, that is how you get your 3rd hyperdriver. So you'd have on a standard turn cycle, you have a 1 hyperdriver with 1 resource left because you've boosted, and then you'd end a turn by cranking another hyperdriver, so you'd have 2 resources on that one. Yeah. So you end a turn on 1 and 2. If at any point in the turn that you've boosted this away, you then end on 2 and 2, which means if you boost the turn after, you can then crank at the end of the turn, and you can have 3 hyperdrives on 1, 1, and 2. So all you need to do in the entire game is banish one of these while boosting, and that turns your game plan on.
Nice.
There are lots of these cards in the deck that do that.
I was going to say, I've played with Crankshaft, and the amount of times that didn't come off, it's just like, okay.
Yeah, we run as many as we can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Now we've got that to that point where you can saturate your deck and really tune that really tune your game plan on like you have. So Crankshaft, as you were saying, does exactly the same as Big Bertha, just attacks for one less. Essentially for one less resource.
Wish there was a 0 cost one as well, or a 1 cost one, but there's not yet.
Well, you know, they have to calm things down a little bit. Okay, so that's your 45. Okay, now we've got to the 45. Let's get to the other cards that kind of come in depending on your matchup, and we'll go through the different matchups afterwards, so you can see basically which cards that you will be putting in. So, as George alluded to, there are more ways to get some steam counters on your hyperdrivers with the red Big Bertha. So yeah, 3 for 6. In a pinch, it's not bad, is it? Blue for 6 damage.
I mean, it's 2 cards 6, which is not amazing, but if you have a hyperdriver out and then you boost a Big Bertha on a blue, you end up with 1 resource. You could then use your Techno Foundry Heart to go to 2 resources and crank. So even with Big Bertha on a 2-card hand, as long as you have that 1 initial hyperdriver out, you can continue the game plan of cycling 2 hyperdrivers. Okay. So Big Bertha, even as a 3 for 6, still continues the game plan which you're going towards the whole time.
Nice. Okay, so Crankshaft doing exactly the same thing. So you've got reds and blues for both of these. So 12 cards in all to try and keep your hyperdrivers around. We talked about the benefits.
Exactly the same. Yeah, you haven't got used to a Techno Foundry Heart. Instead, you just get to just do it straight away.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so hyperdrivers. So this is the way you're going to get 3. You need one of these out.
So another way to get the 3rd hyperdriver. So there's so many ways to get the 3rd hyperdriver. This is probably the easiest way, and you could say the strongest way to get the 3rd hyperdriver.
Yeah.
Because it lets you set up the turn where if you crank this and then play Max, you end a turn with 2 hyperdrivers at 2. Yeah. So you get to do a huge boost turn, which lets you use the boots. So I'd say red hyperdriver is the premium way to get the 3rd hyperdriver, but all the ways that you get there work.
Yeah. I was going to say that Max does put these as crank. So
so this has crank as well.
Yeah,
it's all hyperdrivers have crank, not just his.
Indeed. Maximum velocity, a nice popper. How many times do you actually get it off?
It's
easier.
It's easier because you have the extra resources available to you through the hyperdrivers. But honestly, it's just a popper, and depending on how the Dromai is playing. So I currently only play this in the Dromai, and it depends how the Dromai plays the game plan. If they're trying to play a really slow, grindy game, this pushes through a lot of damage, which you need to just close the game out. When combined with the mech.
Yeah.
So it's just a solid card, and that's why there's currently 2 of them. This could change. It might be a game plan we also run into 5, but that needs more testing.
Yeah. Well, you want to block a bit with 5, or if he makes you block, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you block quite a lot, I think, with 5.
Yeah. Recharge. It just reminds me of sort of like Earthfloor Surge a bit. You know, with the Earthfloor Surge, you get +5.
This Earthfloor Surge with more text, which is what's so good. Like, it already does Earthfloor Surge rate rather than a 2/5, so 1 for 4.
Yeah.
But also, you put a steam counter on your hyperdriver, which again turns on the game plan of getting 3 hyperdrivers out. So recharge alone can be an enabler. So I think we're now at like
15.
18 cards in the deck currently, which can enable the whole game plan. So it's nearly a third of the deck. It's very easy to do.
Nice. We're finally getting a card that gets a bonus. You get a little discount if you've got a hyperdrive. I thought you would have had jump starts and stuff.
Popper.
Yeah.
Another popper, 2 for 6. It's fine. I run it into Max as well because I don't run all the hyperdrivers because of the next card we're going to show. But this is just a good card. It's just like it's throttles 4 and 5 basically.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I can't believe you're using Akira's bike as a popper. That's out of order. Okay, TikTok clock. It's got crank.
It's a bit of a weird card, which people might be surprised at. but there are some game plans which Dromai could use where she gets the Warhorn out, and you need to go to destroy the Warhorn, and this gets rid of that.
Okay.
And also in the mirror, you can really, really slow their game plan down, because if they're on 2 hyperdrivers and you take them both away, this wins you the game basically if it goes off. So it's really, really good there.
Icelander for Frost
Icelander,
Hexes?
it gets rid of the doesn't get rid of much actually. Like E-Pots is, I guess, the only thing they really get rid of.
Okay.
So it's not amazing against Icelander, but against Dash.io, Max, and Dromai, it's really useful. Huge.
Okay, cool. A bit of a sod against Bolton.
Yeah. Destroy his Spirit of Irene, I think it's called.
Indeed, that's the one.
Well.
Yeah. Watch your opponent cry. Always good. Yellow T-Bones, you alluded to him earlier. Yeah.
Just need to be able to kill. It's an upside in that it can just kill Lexi's equipment, which is just good enough right now because Lexi's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, hopefully not for long. Magnetic Shockwave. This was the like you said earlier. You've got that one in. But yeah, with your T-Bones and your twin drives, it's a lot easier to get off now.
And there's just so many cheap boost cards in the deck where you can just end up boosting 4 times and then it destroys everything. It's just really, really solid. Yeah, it's a blue. Like the inclusion cost is so low because it's a blue. It's just really, really good.
Yeah, nice. Blue zipper hits. We saw the other 6 earlier.
It's the worst of the blues I currently have. So whenever I run, because I want to stick to 15 blues into everything but Icelander. So zipper hit blue is the one I switch for Magnetic Shockwave based on if I need to kill their armor or not. If I don't need to kill armor, zipper hit. If I do, Shockwave.
Fair enough.
Nice and easy switch.
Like I said, we'll see those later on. Achilles Accelerator.
AB1.
and in a pinch at an action point.
I guess, but you wouldn't better play your mech afterwards. So big pinch.
Yeah, indeed. Tech Load Plasma Pistol. So instead of taking Banksy, you're taking a pistol. More options for high octane. What kind of matches you taking this in?
Currently, it's in for Dromai because you can use it to clear dragons without having to boost, because you want to be able to sometimes just be able to kill a dragon, multiple dragons, and then on a high octane turn you can blast all their dragons away with a pistol, which is very, very useful when they start racking up all of their little dragons. I can't remember what they're called now. The little
Ashwings.
Ashwings. Yeah. Blow all their Ashwings up, which is very useful. But it may have more use in aggro matchups. That needs to be tested more. I've really liked Banksy forcing interaction. So we'll see whether or not pistol is actually better. That just needs a lot more testing. It's such a small sample size at the moment.
Yeah, I think the thing is aggro decks don't want to interact with you. Banksy makes them. Potentially.
Exactly.
Are you going to give me an extra resource essentially, or are you just going to go straight out damage? Visitronic Model I. Are you using this for anything else but Arcane Barrier?
Arcane Barrier too.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Cool. Right, okay. So that is all the cards, isn't it? No. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's
the tokens.
just the
tokens. Yeah. I wonder why they got a pull. Right, okay. So let's go into the different matchups that we were talking about. So the one underneath my name, that's for Dromai. So let's start with Dromai. These are the cards you are taking out.
So if you click the edit button, it will show you what I do run.
What here?
On the next to Dromai's name.
Aha! There we go. Nice. That's really cool. Learn something how to use Fabry. Right. Okay. So your equipment. You've taken out Banksy. You've put in the pistol. You've said about basically you're using it to shoot Ashwings. There we go. There's the pistol. It's currently hiding under George, but let's move it down so you can see. There's the pistol there.
And nothing super crazy. It's 15 blues. I run, I believe, 10 poppers in this deck at the moment, and then the 2 bombs. So if it turns out the Warhorn plan isn't really consistent against Max, then the TikTok bombs will come out for 2 more poppers. It completely depends on what sort of Dromai decides is their best plan into you.
So what poppers are you putting in?
So the poppers that go in are the maximum velocities and the Akira's bike.
Okay, so the TikTok clock is only in there for Dromai, is it? Literally.
It's also in for the mechs as well.
Right, okay. Right, okay. It's because you were saying about extra poppers. I've gone down to inventory. I can't find any extra poppers in there.
Yeah, there's none. So they're out the deck completely. Like
right.
you could, I would make changes to the deck to run 2 more poppers. I think.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Right. Cool. So that's the Dromai match. Let's go here and let's go Phi. Now I know what I'm doing. Phi, you've got Banksy. You've got all your usual suspects for equipment.
I would call this the default 60.
Okay.
If you're unsure on how to play a matchup, I would run this 60 because it does most of the things you want to do. It has the way to destroy equipment. It has an easy way to set up the free hyperdrivers, and it has the ability for the high octane big power turn to kill someone on 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
This 60 does all of it. This is kind of what I started at as a 60, and then you develop the sideboard afterwards. So this is how I'd say I'd started, and then you move from there.
Yeah, I'll include the link in the deck text so people can get hold of this deck. But yeah, as George says, grab it, and basically this is the deck to play with. So that's your Phi and any default matchups. Let's go into Icelander. So
the cool thing is you can run AB3 and still get in the mech, and you don't really care about having no AB once you're in the mech because you're gonna kind of kill everyone when you're in the mech. You kill people so quick. You can't attach to their arcane, but you can just start swinging your boost cards at them. So it has higher blue count. So the 3 blues that we currently switch between Zipper Hit and Meganatic, instead against Icelander, you run all of them. So you just include everything. So you go to 18 blues.
So are you changing it in any way, depending on if you know your opponent's playing Bullander or Arcane, or is this the standard list?
This is the standard. I don't think I'd change a single card.
Okay.
I don't think it impacts me at all what their game plan is. I just need to have AB free to prevent when I have excess resource available to me, or it makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, you just run 3 extra blues for the Icelander matchup, and then I think I cut something. I can't remember what I cut out. It was maybe a 2 for 5 or something. Mm-hmm. Just gone for lower, cheaper cost cards.
Yeah. Cheaper cost cards, more blues. There's a red T-bone underneath George's head there, and a Visitronic. Okay, just in case you missed it. It's really hard to place people, so you can do a deck tech properly. Matchup, Lexi. So this is the one you'll probably be playing most of the time, to be fair, at the minute.
Yeah.
I
think it's exactly the same as Phi.
Fair enough.
Because as I said, if you're unsure, you run those 60, and you'll be fine into everyone. Yeah. The sideboard is just to tweak into certain matchups which have different avenues in which they attack you. For example, Dromai has dragons you need to deal with, and Icelander has arcane damage and frostbites. So the deck changes for those, and then for a default list, this is just very solid into everyone else.
Mm-hmm. How are you finding it against Lexi? Because she's got a lot of breakpoint attacks. Obviously, you've got a lot of 3 blocks with mech. There are a couple of 2 blocks, and if you're running like your hyperdrivers block for nothing. But
so
like
I
Lexi,
played quite a few Lexi matchups now, and I didn't do too great in my initial testing, but it has got better. Mm-hmm. Lexi's just a very hard matchup, and you have to approach it in a very fluid way where if you can trade damage with them, you should. And if they're just presenting way too scary on hits, like you can't let a Heat Seeker hit, for example. You do need to block those. You have to be very smart on how you trade with Lexi, because you do need to have boost. You can't just not boost. You need to get your free hyperdrivers out. And then once you get in the mech, though, you can be 20 life down. And then you just spend every turn block 12 and swing for 6. You win.
Yeah. Don't go boost crazy on a remorseless trigger.
No, don't do that.
I've seen
you're going to win the game.
Yeah, I've seen Viscerai do that and just go, oh my god, no. Right, okie dokie. Last matchup that you have kindly given us is the mirror. Okay, everybody loves a mirror, and this is your current one. So default equipment.
Yeah.
Is it pretty much your default? It is
very
pretty much
similar.
aggro.
Only 2 hyperdrivers because I don't want too many no blocks in the deck because you do end up having to block quite a lot. So 1 less hyperdriver to run the 2 TikToks. And then you do actually attack as well quite a lot. So the rev up is another great. It's just because it's a throttle. It's effectively your best rate card in the deck. So you run 2 more copies of your aggressive card, and that sort of all slots in quite well together as well.
Yeah, the swing back can be quite hard to change the tempo, especially if someone's full aggro as well.
Yeah, it really can. In Max, even though the deck is built around getting optimizing how quick you can get the Nitro mechanoid online, it is still an aggro deck, and it's still, card for card does very good damage. So a 15 damage 4-card hand isn't unreal to have, and up to 20 damage on a 5-card hand can happen. So you can't just disrespect the deck and try and set up against it. It can still really hit hard. So it's still just a really good deck to play against. Yeah, I really enjoy playing it because of my past with fire, I guess.
Indeed. No attacking for 1 for you though anymore.
No attacking for 1. 4s and 3s instead.
Okay. So that's all the matchups. If you enjoyed it, if you like the look of it, give it a go. George, how can people get hold of you if they've got any questions regarding this deck?
You can get me on Twitter. I'm sure Barry will pop that in the description. And I'm also always on the global Discord talking in the Fi and the Max channels. So you can grab me on there for any questions on more like detail on the game plan and how you should approach them. But yeah, give me a shout whenever you need. I'm always happy to talk to people.
Cool, nice. Hopefully, someone will take it to any of the 3 battle hardens that are having this weekend. If you do take it, leave a comment on the video. Tell us how you did, and then we'll do a few updates on this to see how you progress on this, George. Because it's a new deck, and changes will happen. I'm sure there'll be changes by next week. Don't say that. New deck tech next week. Stay tuned. So if you like this, like and subscribe. I've got a Patreon. You get some discounts to buy the same token, and Thistle Tavern that do single cards, so it's well worth joining my Patreon. All the links will be in the description, but I hope you really enjoyed that, and it's something that hopefully I'll be doing more deck techs in the future for sure. And we'll see you again soon, George, maybe for the meta report when we do ProQuest and see how you do.
Look forward to telling you how many I won this time, Barry.
No pressure. Nice.
Take it easy.
Nice. Brilliant. Thank you all. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone. Bye.